Guys, so today I'm going to be talking about my 1JZ swapped 240SX. I would like to go over everything that it took to get to this point of the build and everything that I know so far about this swap, and everything for the most part is pretty much stock. I'm going to try to do this with one hand. And there it is, 1JZ 240 SX. So the excessive kit was, I think they usually run for like 600-700. I got everything for like 400. Relatively fresh kit. Got lucky with that, and it came with a drive shaft. Everything I've done to the motor, I changed the timing belt. I changed the water pump to a 2JZ water pump. And then the fueling system, I just ran, I have a 300ZX fuel filter, and I just ran the feed line into a elbow on the fuel rail and then a return line. And over here I did wire up the car a little bit. I had a friend wire it. So this is just like everything that I've done so far in terms of the build. But I do have everything to basically get it started. But in the next video, I'm going to install this intercooler over here. Everything done to the car. I cut the tubs out. I ran metal lines basically anywhere you could think of from the steering rack. I ran metal bushings, lines, all the minor maintenance you can do while the engine is out. And then from that point, I just swapped the 1JZ right into it. This is a OEM S14 reservoir, and I just use like any hoses. I don't recommend using a heater hose, but it's just temporary. I did a 300ZX caliper swap. The back I left OEM. Extended my arms by 1 inch, and then I ran the GK Tech roll center correction kit. And I ended up using you can use I use 2001 Nissan Maxima inner tie rods, and I used some off-brand outer tie rods that I got for like 30 bucks, I think, off of Car Auto or something like that. So it's kind of a budget on the build, but I didn't completely cheap out on this build at all. I was trying not to cheap out on like vital things, but where I can find a deal, I would get a deal. That's the only reason why I was able to even get this car for, well, get everything done so far to the car for probably less than around $10,000, I would say, give or take. So I'm still working on a lot of the wiring, so it's a little crazy looking on the passenger side. Anyway, this is just my setup here. It's pretty much a seat and a steering wheel and a shift knob. If you guys are curious about like what I ran for power, let me just show you over here. So there's the battery right there, and then this power line runs up there on the strut. Then it goes through the passenger, comes up, down, runs all the way under, comes out, and then comes out out through the firewall. And then from the firewall, I don't know if you could see it, it's right here, the line. Here's the line. It runs back around, and it connects directly into the starter of the 1J. That's just how I wanted to run my wiring, because I think the battery weight on the passenger side would have been a better decision weight wise, considering I don't really weigh much. I weigh probably around like 160, but to have that setup there going on, I think it's way better than having more weight on the driver's side, if it makes a difference at all. I doubt it does, but if it does, then that'll be sick. Also, one thing that I did run is like I pretty much wrapped the whole wall. This I had to cut over here. I'm gonna rewrap that, but I pretty much wrapped the front of the firewall in heat tape, like all over. And then on this side I ran more heat tape here because the exhaust, believe it or not, is right below the fuel. So it's, I don't know, it's super dangerous, but like, this is super tight. I mean, you know, fingers. Also stitch welded the strut towers, and then running BC coils. So one thing that I know I get a lot of, like, of my friends just coming and watching my build so far, just being like, oh, isn't your engine gonna get dirty? Isn't your engine bay gonna get dirty? Because I don't run wheel wells. Now, I'm thinking about running wheel wells in the future, but I just kind of like the convenience of having no wheel wells. And just to back up not having wheel wells, I don't plan on driving this car necessarily more than 3 months out the year, but not even daily either. Just to save myself, because I know a lot of people are gonna ask, like, yo, bro, you have no wheel wells. What are you doing? You're gonna freaking destroy your car. But nah, I got it. Nah, that's kind of a big hole though. So building this wasn't really much. It wasn't that hard. Like, it was just, I had to get some ECU plugs. It's an ETCS motor, so it wasn't that difficult to really source parts. It didn't have like the ECU didn't have like one of those like security thingies if you have the wrong key. I forgot what it's called. I'm using a stock ECU. I'm using stock wiring that I'm splicing into. I have a really good wiring guy that wires really good, and these motors are relatively, so these motors are relatively, you know, new. They're like 2000. They're old, but they're not as old as a lot of the other JZs out there. So I think I've gotten most things of this car in this update video. I will be making more videos. So the next video I'm going to be putting on this intercooler, and then hopefully I can just start driving this thing very, very soon. I just want to make like drifting videos and stuff for everybody, but yeah. So I think I've gotten everything about this car in this update video, so just tune in for the next video. I'm going to be putting on the intercooler. But yeah, that's pretty much it.